What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Talk Talk Punch. I am Brody, joined by Two Dong Dylan.
Hey.
And I'll have what he's having, Charlie.
I like it.
That's
We're
great.
still working on the nicknames. So thank you so much for joining us. We here at Talk Talk Punch are building a wonderful little community here, and we love interacting with you guys. So, if you're going to comment, please make it nice, make it respectful. We're all just fans of this stuff like you guys, but we love interacting with you guys. So while you're here, whether you're watching us on YouTube or listening in on the audio version of the podcast, make sure you go ahead and smash that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up, then come back here every Wednesday to see what we're talking about. Kind of like this week's topic. We're having a conversation this week, guys. We're talking about what do we do with classic movies? Okay, we had a conversation, or we had a top 3 list recently about movies that should not be remade. That they would melt the internet, and we've talked about some of these older movies before, and we thought, what do we do with some of these? Okay, we've talked about things that we could remake. We've talked about things we shouldn't remake. So what do we do with these? So that's what it is tonight, Charlie.
Yeah, I was really excited to kind of extend this conversation a little further after our last video about melting the internet down, because I think it's a really interesting topic, and it's very relevant. Obviously, we're in an age of reboots and reimaginings. There's a lot of that happening, especially with the MCU and the DCU, and it's been going on for a while with James Bond movies. It's exciting. Like, who's the new Bond? I was talking to Dylan about this earlier. It's like, how we can have a franchise like that where it's really exciting to get a new Bond, but then there's things like Indiana Jones where it's a different feeling. It's like, who's the new indie? So we wanted to kind of dive into that a little bit better. So let's digress here a little bit, because I want to platform things.
Sure.
Platform things. I'm getting words out real smooth tonight, real clean.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I dig it.
I'm going to lay out some reasons. You guys can add some, or you feel free to push back if you disagree. But these are some of the reasons I feel like, there are movies that are being made or redone. So you have medium changes, right? So you'll have something that was a TV show becomes a movie. Something that was a movie becomes a TV show.
Like Baywatch.
Like Baywatch.
Love me some Baywatch.
I think that the first example, I'm sure, on everyone's mind. Classic film. But there's anyway. There's a lot of that medium change that's happening now, especially with the kind of the advancement in television. You're getting a lot of like movies that are popping over. Snowpiercer's going strong right now. Like, I think it's like 4 or 5 seasons in. You got a whole bunch of these kind of shifts. We got Lord of the Rings coming to the small screen. We got a lot of this medium change that's happening. You have reasons like rebooting. You have these characters like Spider-Man, and generationally now we can talk about our Spider-Man. Who's our Spider-Man?
Sure.
And we got a brand new Batman, and it's like we get to talk about the different Batmans through the eras and stuff like that. It's it's kind of interesting. You have your sequels, obviously, like Avatar 2 coming out 35 years after the first Avatar or whatever it may be. You have a straight reimagining, like The Office is a British show. Let's make it an American television show. So let's take so it happens with foreign films as well. Sometimes you'll see just kind of like, oh, that was good, but let's Americanize it. Can we put let's make an American version of that, and it'll be fantastic. And sometimes it works out great, like it did with The Office, and sometimes you end up with some really bad, like the American version of Coupling, which was, you can Google it. It is not good.
No idea what that is.
How about the American version of The Ring, or The Ring? Because that was I didn't. Anyways, my point is, like, a lot of times it does not translate. It just does not translate. But sometimes it translates even better, like The Office. That's an unbelievable example. That's really good.
Oh, thank you. You have like your updates in quality, like think Dune to Dune.
Sure.
Go back and watch like the old Dune and the new Dune, and visually speaking, the new Dune, whether you loved it or didn't, it is a you cannot deny it is a feast for the eyes.
Certainly is.
Just visually speaking, just a breathtaking film. And then you go back and watch old Kyle MacLachlan putter around in the old Dune, and you're like, no, that's this new one is better. It is certainly an update in quality. And then you also have like updates in content, where there's different eras. Like maybe think of the movie like Breakfast and Tiffany's that has like the overtly racist white guy playing the Asian role, things like that. But where maybe there's some content that just maybe needs to get cleaned up if you want to introduce it to a new audience,
Sure.
80 years later. So if you want to do a little test for yourself out there, you can go to the AFI website, American Film Institute. Top of like the AFI Top 100, there's like a quiz you can take. So I'm an old man, and I've seen a lot of movies, and I scored 25 out of 100 on the AFI Top 100 movies, which is not great. I'm willing to guess that Brody would score much less, and that Dylan would score much more, and that would be I would consider myself the middleman here.
Sure.
But there is the newest movie on that list is The Lord of the Rings from like 2001.
Okay.
So I mean, it is not
over 20
not a lot
years
of like new content.
Wait a minute,
yeah.
Dark Knight's not on there? Dark Knight's not on there?
So the list that you can look. So it's that AFI 100 Years, 100 Movies 10th Anniversary Edition. If you just type
Dark
it
Knight
into
came after Lord of the Rings.
I didn't make the list, so you can get upset at me in the comments for not including the Dark Knight.
It's on there, sir. It's on there. It's preposterous.
It's not, and I didn't make the list, so it's not my fault. I do not work for AFI. I am not affiliated with them in any way.
How
so
dare you?
Please send and direct your comments to the AFI website. I didn't do it, so maybe it had to do with an anniversary for them. I don't know. Anyway, it's a fun little quiz. You can put little red dots in the boxes and fill it out for yourself to see. But there's a lot of movies on there, and my dad's a big movie buff and stuff that I know that he loves that I will just never see. It's not ever going to happen. It's nothing personal to anyone who might love It Happened One Night, or A Streetcar Named Desire, or Intolerance, or whatever, it's Shane, or the Philadelphia Story from 1940. I'm sure they're lovely films. I'm just never going to see them. And I'm at an age now where there are movies where my kids, like the 1940s, like forever ago, but also not that long ago in terms of like my birth to 1940 versus like, my kids. And anyway, you start doing some fancy math, and you're like, huh. So a movie that was like a 1960 film is kind of like a 1980s film to my kids. And, and I'm looking at these 1960s movies, and I'm like, I haven't seen this. I didn't see Bonnie and Clyde. I didn't see, now I'm like The Bridge Over River Kwai, just Easy Rider. These are classic films. I just didn't see them. And I know, Dylan, I'm so sorry. I'm like, this is painful for you because I know you've seen all of these.
It's not. You actually have been. It's painful only because a lot of the movies you mentioned are ones that I actually have not seen. So I'm like,
really?
I'm like, well, I'm okay that you haven't seen them.
So okay,
because I haven't seen them either. I mean, the only one that I probably, except I seen Streetcar Named Desire. But see, I look at it a little bit less like a time period, and I look at it more like. Does it kind of grab you some way? I've always been a big Marlon Brando fan, so I gravitate towards a lot of the movies he makes. I'll like appreciate, or maybe I'll see something that I like in a poster, or I'll see something in a synopsis of something like that, and somehow I'll seek it out. I saw The World of Susie Wong because it was on television late one night. I didn't even seek it out, and just there it was. And now I kind of look at it like, even though we can't do it the exact same way. We can't, like, my kid is not going to go on to the television and like have a old movie station come on and watch a movie and just see it like that. Granted, that's not the same way. What if she flips through her phone and she sees on her Netflix, we don't have Netflix, or Hulu app, and she sees something, catches her eye, I'll take a look at this. And maybe she finds it. I mean, there's still ways it could happen. It's just, but it might be different. I mean, I've seen movies and I have no clue where they came from, or I'll see a movie and it just came on and I'll connect to it, and it's great. And so, I mean, I do think that there's some we don't gravitate towards. Majority of the ones that you said, I could not make a case to watch them, really. I really couldn't. I mean, the only one I would probably be like, well, maybe I might get interested is The Bridge Over the River Kwai because Alec Guinness is in it. But I think that some of these movies in certain genres, in certain ways, I mean, like, I'm not going to watch Philadelphia Story, but that doesn't mean that some kid who is flipping through the thing can't suddenly find it on their own, which is actually one of the things that I appreciate about your argument when it came to things like remakes, because it doesn't take away from the fact that they're there. I mean, just because it's not severely popular, it's still actually there. There's still a chance. It's never, ever actually dead unless it's actually no longer it's literally taken from every single platform.
Yeah. So this is kind of the basic crux that I want to talk to you guys about, because I do feel like, you know, like my kids are probably never going to see Double Indemnity, which I never saw. But my dad absolutely loves it. And he says, I need to watch it. And at one point, he even bought it for me on DVD. And it's really, really sweet.
Still sealed.
And it's still in the cellophane. It is sitting on my shelf. And I'm just realistically, I'm never going to get there. And I know that my kids feel this way because I've talked to my son about Jurassic Park. And he's like, Dad, I tried to watch the old Jurassic Park. And I can't do it. There's just so much talking. Way too much talking.
There's so much talking?
Way too much talking. He's like, it's really boring, and look at the graphics. And he's like, now Jurassic World, that's where it's at, you know? And so I know that my kids are, you know, as I showed them this, you know, the old Star Wars movies, and they're kind of like, that's funny. Look at that guy. You know, and they enjoyed it, but they like the prequels better because they look better. And they like the new stuff even more because it just looks more like contemporary for what they're accustomed to. And you know, they're too young to really, they don't care about the story. I didn't care about the story when I was a kid watching Star Wars. I wasn't like, yes, but there's a few plot holes here. Why did he want to kiss his sister so bad? What's going on? Why Obi-Wan says he'll be stronger than you ever imagined, then he disappears forever. What happened? You know, I didn't care about it when I was a kid. When I was a kid, it's like lightsabers, yes. Yeah. It was so anyway. So I want to talk to you guys. Would you prefer that these classic movies that you loved, whether they be from your childhood or early adolescence or your teen years, would you prefer that they just stay in little time capsules for things that you appreciate, for when we get together in our little old man circles, we have a little nostalgia for, we talk about how great that movie from 1992 was, talk about old Arnold or old Stallone or that old Bruce film, and we just kind of shoot the breeze and say, what a great time to be alive? Or would you prefer that there's, in some way, whether it's through a transition to a television show or an updated release of a movie, like it to live on?
I just want to say something very briefly, bro,
okay,
because I want to hear what you have to say about this, but very briefly. I liked your example, Charlie, when you said Dune. You said Dune, and you were like, the new Dune, which is slick and cool, and then there's the old Dune, where it's Kyle MacLachlan, whatever he's doing. The one thing that I thought that was really interesting about that comparison is the fact that you have two directors who have very strong visions. I'm not going to say that every movie has to have a director with a very strong vision, because that's kind of like saying we want honest politicians. It's okay. There are like work people, directors, politicians. Yeah, right. Directors. And they're like, I don't have a strong vision. I have a vision, or I have this, or I have that, or this movie is just a page, whatever it is. And it's competently done. But you can't take something from someone who has a very clear, specific vision. And there's directors who have that. And then if you pass it on to another director who has a very clear, like Cape Fear was a remake. Martin Scorsese's Cape Fear in the 90s, early 90s, was a remake of the movie Cape Fear with Gregory Peck and Robert Mitchum. And it was great. It was fine. Sure, it was good. But it didn't have a very strong vision. I can't remember who directed it. But Martin Scorsese had a very strong vision, and that made it even better. And now I'm not saying that that's always the way, and that's always how it'll be, but there's got to be something strong about it. If it's going to be a remake, make it something strong and unique. And I don't mean it has to be strong and unique like the other one. It just have someone with the leadership to have it a strong. That wasn't a short thing. I'm sorry, bro, but basically that's the gist of what I'm saying.
That's
1 hour later.
That's all right, too long. You know, I do just want to say, while you were talking, I did go to the AFI 100, and I scored a 32.
Did you really, bro?
Yeah.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Wow.
32.
I call shenanigans, but that's great.
No, 32 little check
Charlie, on the other hand, made a whole turkey dinner while I was
seen 32 of the 110th anniversary edition of all time.
I mean, I believe that you believe it.
You know, I think
not based on what you've heard of.
Oh, come on.
Every half hour of the movie counts as a movie.
I've heard of Some Like It Hot. I'm clicking that box.
You know what really helped was that I took the Stanley Kubrick class in college. There's a lot of Stanley Kubricks on there.
There it is.
Yeah. But it's, with these types of movies, it's tough. Like I haven't seen so many of these, and I just don't think I'm going to, and some of these ones, especially that you're getting into the 1940s and stuff like that, I'm not going to go watch those. My kids are not going to go watch them. And so I do relate.
You didn't see Dracula? Bela Lugosi's Dracula? It's 1930s, bro.
I've never seen that. I know of it, but I'm not going to go watch the movie.
I'm glad you've heard of it. Sorry, keep going.
But then, and so, but then when we talk about when we talked about stuff that was remakes, and Charlie, you mentioned Aliens, and I was like, oh, you can't remake that. Like, why is that so special to me? And so it's tough. I don't know where I stand. Like, why some things are like these kind of sacred, holy things that shouldn't be touched. And some of to some people, and that's one of the things is that it's so special to some people, and they hold it so dear to their hearts that they're like, you can never remake this. They remade RoboCop, one of my favorite movies of all time, and I didn't like it, and I was annoyed that they did it. I'm sure that there's people that would watch it now, that would watch the remake, and they're like, well, but the graphics are way better, the special effects are way better.
Paul Verhoeven had a very specific vision, bro, and he executed it. That new remake, not a very specific vision, not at all. It was very milquetoast about it.
Yeah, I mean, like at the heart of all of this, of course, is any project that gets made, whether it's a reboot, a reimagining, or just an original film, it's got to be good. And so much of the problem that we have is like when something's bad, we kind of blame the idea of it instead of just the execution of it.
Right.
I think often of like the fourth Indiana Jones, which was just horrible movie. I think we all agree on that, right? The Crystal Skull.
Yep.
That was not good.
Can you imagine?
It was boring.
What people would have said if it had been a new Indiana Jones in that same script, everything exactly the same, but they just cast somebody new. A lot of people would have blamed the idea that we didn't need the new Indiana Jones. We didn't need this idea. But really, it's just a bad script. It's a bad execution of that vision. And it was just a bad movie. And so you could put you put Harrison Ford there, great. You put any other actor. You put Marky Wahlberg in there, and maybe it's a little worse, but it's still bad. It's
Wait, now I've got an example here. You got Seven Samurai from the 1950s, Akira Kurosawa in Japan. They remake it into The Magnificent Seven, which is a Western, and he done here in America, and becomes a classic. It's a classic remake. Now, then they remake Magnificent Seven with Denzel in the lead and Chris Pratt and some other character with several other people. Ethan Hawke was in it and all that stuff. Terrible, apparently. Terrible. Not a classic. Not like the Magnificent Seven. Not like Seven Samurai.
That's I think this points out too that nostalgia is like a hell of a drug, and there are movies that I think are always going to be important and special to me. That when I try to put myself in the lens of my kids, or just like my wife hasn't seen a lot of movies. I just rewatched Shawshank Redemption again, and it's like, I haven't seen this in a while. It was on one of the streaming services. I sat down, I watched it, fell in love all over again. Oh, what a great movie! And I was like, oh, sweetheart, I just watched Shawshank Redemption, and she's like, I don't think I've ever seen it. I think I've seen little clips on like cable, like little chunks of the movie, and I'm like, oh gosh, all right, well we gotta fix this. And this is basically our marriage, is me saying like, hey, this movie. And she's like, oh, yeah, I've heard of that. Or like Brody filling out his AFI Top 100. I've seen 5 seconds of it, therefore it counts. Someone mentioned the name to me once, so I click it. So I try to imagine, okay, like I sat down with her to watch Austin Powers, and it was like a non-starter. Which is fair, because that's like it's a 90s time capsule. It's like, and if you missed it then, it's like, it just not, it wasn't for her, and that's totally. And I'm watching her watch it, and I'm like, yeah, this boy, for a first timer now, maybe this isn't "This is a bad choice by me." She's like, "No, it's fine." Scrolling her phone. Like, that's great. Why? If it makes you happy, that's great. I'm not gonna watch it or enjoy it, but go ahead. Knock yourself out. And so I try to kind of think through and some of these movies just really don't need to be remade because honestly, they were great in their time and they're not great movies. Like, I don't know, if some of these, not AFI Top 100, but some of the movies from my childhood really need an upgrade or an update. But there are fantastic films that I hope are never forgotten and things that I would love to see kind of reimagined or re-envisioned. Let me pitch to you guys. All right, we've talked a lot about Back to the Future on this podcast. It's I think a favorite of all of our childhoods.
Sure.
We've told some stories about trying to think about when to show it to our kids and some of the uncomfortable moments that there might be in showing it to our children. As they eyeball their mother from the other side of the room, going, I.
Just wow. Or my wife eyeballs me from across.
Yeah, what's going on? So, what about a Back to the Future TV show? Would you guys be into that? So a young Marty McFly, some time travel. You get little elements of quantum leap, going back in time, fixing some things from his life. Stuff goes awry. A whole season spent in the 1950s, and then but now we got to go to the future. A whole season spent in the future, and now there's this other problem. Now we're going all the way back. A whole season back in the past, where we get to really develop some characters. Not a 24 episode season, like a nice 8 episodes, 6 to 8 tight episodes on a cable network like HBO. What do we think?
I don't know. I don't think I want it.
It doesn't seem interesting. It seems like it'd be made and it'd be boring, really.
Time travel? Marty McFly? You could still have Christopher Lloyd as Christopher Lloyd? Doc Brown out there? What if it was Tom Holland and Robert Downey Jr.? Robert Downey Jr. playing the Christopher Lloyd character and Tom Holland playing Marty McFly.
In a television show, though, like if you were to say a remake of the movie, I'd be like, interesting, yes. And I always still like Tom Holland.
Why would the movie be more interesting? The movie's already been done. What's interesting about the movie again? You already have the movie. Now
I don't know how they would. They'd have to really do it well. It just doesn't spark.
Of course, it'd have to be done well. That's the whole point of all of this. Obviously, it has to be done well.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think I'd gravitate towards it for some reason.
It would just be hard. It would just be hard to watch without comparing it to the original.
Sure. And the original is flawed, and that's part of the reason why we love it.
Is it flawed?
It is flawed. Now, I do think there are some, it's very flawed. But I love it. I love it. It's very flawed. Michael J. Fox's performance in that is very, lovable. And it would be really hard to see someone else. It would be hard to see someone else in that role. But that's what life is these days. We roll on and we fall in love with an actor in a role, and then we're gonna have to get used to seeing someone else in that role. That's kind of like where we are at in 2022. You may love Christian Bale as Batman, but you're gonna have to get over that because there's gonna be more Batmen.
Yes,
Batmen, Batmen's men.
Yep,
Batman.
I mean, I know Brody said he'll never love another Joker as much as Heath Ledger, and then along comes your boy Jared Leto, and I know Brody and Dylan couldn't stop talking about it after that performance. They could not stop talking about it. It was just nonstop.
We could not stop talking about it. I don't think, and the positives, but
you said a lot of things. I mean, some of them might have even been nice. It's hard to say at this point.
How did everybody know that Bruce Wayne was Batman? And that's every single person knew that Bruce Wayne was Batman.
We're not going down this trail.
Amanda Waller.
Charlie, darn you for opening up that can.
Sorry. All right,
everybody just knew. Amanda Waller was like, oh hey.
All right, sorry. Okay, so you guys, you get the idea though. The idea of taking a classic movie and then reimagining it as a TV show. You guys would need some convincing, but I think there's more value in that necessarily than unless we're talking a shot for shot remake, line for line.
Okay.
So I think part of what happens, I think, with these kind of rebooting of franchises is they're trying to kind of reinvent the wheel, right? New scripts.
Sure.
And it's if the movie's good, if the script is like Alien, if they remade Alien, just remake Alien. Like just do the same thing. Cast a great Ripley. Like, just get a great cast in there, get a great director.
You should also get a great director and a great writer.
I literally just said great director, and just reshoot
and a writer too, not the same script. Like
a
writer,
script. Just do the same script. Just redo it. Just make it look clean. Make it look like it wasn't shot in 1974 or whatever year it was. 1976. Eight. What year was that? 70 something. Make it look like it was shot in 2022, but just use the same script.
I don't know about that.
If the movie's good, the movie's good. Just make it look better. Make it look good.
What about something like, as I was going through here, what about like The Wizard of Oz?
Now, see, I think it also has to do with it's a subjective thing, because I'm like, do I really want to do a season with that kind of time travel stress? I'm not exactly. Do I really want to invest in this? I love the lovability of the characters, but do I really? I don't know. And maybe it's me and my own taste. But then you said but then like the Lord of the Rings thing, I think to myself, that actually is interesting. I'm probably still not going to watch it, but I mean, it's more interesting than that. So I mean, I do think it can absolutely be that way. It's just like, and I don't think that I don't bristle to it because it would be a remake or because it's not Michael J. Fox. Even if it was Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd back at that time, I'm not exactly sure. I just don't know. But like I said, it's probably just that one particular concept. There's a lot of other ones that I'm sure I could see, and I'm like, do that. Like when you said the Harry Potter, if they did Harry Potter as a TV series, I think that would be an unbelievable idea. I think that'd be fantastic.
Now, there is a Wizard of Oz remake that's happened in 2021.
It was?
Or it's on IMDb. I don't know.
Oh, interesting.
So we can.
It's not
check
an
it out.
effective remake or anything like that. If nobody's ever heard that
it doesn't look like it's legit. It looks very much like someone just kind of added it like a Wikipedia entry, but it is on there. So I think that there's gonna be stuff that like, okay, so like there's things that I hold like really near and dear in my heart. But what if I told you that your kids will never watch Back to the Future ever? And I don't know why we're using this as an example. Or Indiana Jones. They're just never gonna watch it. They just are never gonna care unless it gets remade with a star. Are you comfortable just saying, well then fine, I keep Indiana Jones for my generation and it dies with me? Or are you saying, you know what, it's an iconic enough of a character that I'd like the character to live on. Let's push the character forward. And say maybe it's not going to be my favorite Indiana Jones, but I'm glad the character lives on and can be enjoyed by future generations.
If it's true to the character, if they stay true to the character, I have no problem with that. Even if I don't even watch the thing, I still don't have any problem with that. But if you're going to do that, stay true to the character. Stay true to like there's got to be something. Otherwise, if you change it enough to where it no longer is this anymore, then it doesn't make any sense. But I think that's fine. I don't think it's as dire. I think some kids are different than others when it comes to like. I think like how many the movies that you showed your kids, bro, that you were like, I'm going to show my kids this, and they watched and they actually enjoyed.
Oh,
any of them
that are older?
Yeah, like RoboCop.
No, I haven't showed them RoboCop. You know, they enjoy the older Star Wars. But like I showed them Superman the motion picture. And it's too slow. They didn't like it.
So I mean, it's also kind of subjective. So I mean, I don't think it's as grim as with the kids. But I mean, I do completely understand with what you're saying.
But you're looking at it through your lens, right? So look, Raiders of the Lost Ark was 81. That's 41 years ago.
That's a fun movie.
If you were born in 1980, that's like watching a movie from 1939. I mean, that's old. That's an old movie. The guy's face melts. It's ridiculous. The graphics on that are hilariously bad when his face like just kind of like.
Come on, but when he's going through, he's getting his he's getting what are they? He's going into the actual tent in the very beginning when you first see him with the whip of the iconic fedora, all that stuff.
I love it. Your kids. I love it. I'll always love it. I'm saying that my kids will probably never watch it. I'll buy it. No. Yes, they've watched the Indiana Jones films. Excuse me. But they were kind of meh on it. It was fine. I think they like National Treasure better.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna. You know what? I don't know. Maybe my daughter does the same thing. Maybe my daughter doesn't. But either way, we'll see. I don't want to suddenly say, well, she'll probably just do the same thing because I don't know. But
you never know. Of course, your daughter in 10 years, man, that movie's gonna be 51 years old. Which would be the equivalent of watching a movie from 1929 if you were born in 1980. So, just saying.
But I mean, I've watched.
It's old.
We're old. The original Dracula from 1930, and I thought it was cool when I was a kid.
Yeah, you're a weird cat, though.
That's true.
I saw Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai. when I was a kid, and I thought this is so cool. Enter the Dragon '73. When I was a kid, I was like 6, and I loved it.
Yeah, but that's there's enough reason. Anyway, I'm not saying that like, and people out there probably screaming at their screens.
Oh,
I'm just playing I'm playing a little devil's advocate right here. I'm not saying that this is all stuff that I believe. I'm just trying to keep the conversation going because it is stuff that I think about, and I don't know. Honestly, I don't think there's a right answer, and I don't know what I really even believe in my heart.
True.
I know that there are movies that I just love, and it does make me a little bit sad to think that that it's gonna kind of like there are movies that my dad loved that are going to just die with his generation, and they're gone, and that's fine. That's just cycle of life stuff. It happens with music. It happens with with art, with culture, all these different things. So I just want to have a conversation. And maybe you're out there and you've seen a bunch of these AFI movies. Maybe you've seen none of them. Maybe you're thinking about the new stuff and you're Martin Scorsese shaking your fist at Marvel, or maybe you're just loving all the new stuff, the multiverse. It's interesting. It's an interesting time to be a fan of movies. And it's hard. Watch Interstate 60 on Peacock. It's free. And it is a cute little movie, and it is from the 90s, and it is dated. If you look at the way the visual it is shot, it is really dated. And it's a cool movie, and it would make a cool TV show. It was one that I mentioned in our Movies That Should Be Television Shows episode. Feel free to kick.
You showed me that movie, didn't you? That's the one with Kurt Russell, isn't it?
No Kurt Russell. It's got a cameo by Michael J. Fox. It's got James Marsden, Amy Smarts, Christopher Lloyd, Gary Oldman.
Does it star James Marsden?
Yes.
Does he go to a town where like everybody like works and then goes to a club and like is on this drug and they're like zombies almost?
That is one town that he stops in along the interstate. There's a lot of different towns.
Kurt Russell's in that part, isn't he? Who's the guy who leads that town?
He might be in it, but it's not a Kurt Russell movie. He's
I know.
He's got like 4 lines of dialogue.
It's a good movie, though. It's a really good movie.
I know, and it's a hard one to watch now just because of the visual.
Sure.
I'm just throwing out this, and there's lots of movies that fit into that category, and maybe it's a good movie or maybe it's not, and we'll never really know. But watch it, Peacock. Let me know.
Yeah.
That's an excellent segment, I guess.
Yeah. Charlie, have you guys seen Citizen Kane?
No,
I have.
It's the #1 on AFI. I've never seen it. I don't know if I will.
I've seen it.
I don't know. That's
like I said
that's
earlier,
one of the ones that when we talked about first having this conversation, that's one of the ones that came to mind because it's claimed movie. But I don't know. I don't know what to do with it.
I'm not going to say that it was a bad movie, and I'm not going to say that. I mean, I'm sure at the time it must have been some kind of a game changer, and it's one of those things where it's really kind of lost on at least me. Like when I watched it, I don't regret watching it, but at the same time, it's not a movie I'm going to be like, guys, you got to watch this. I mean, we were talking earlier, Charlie, and I was like, of all the movies I've shown him Giant with James Dean. I've shown him Enter the Dragon, which is a classic, and he loved. No matter what he says, he loved it. I don't care. I've shown you a lot of different things. I have never even been like, hey, let me show you Citizen Kane, because it's just. Sure, it's very well made and it's well acted and all that kind of a thing, but it's not for the game changer that it was back then. I can appreciate so many of the other game changers, but for some reason, it's almost like doing that same kind of writing and directing and acting, that sort of like the things that they were doing were revolutionary, and now it's like all of us do that if that's what you're going to do. Every movie is like, we're going to definitely aspire to a good writing. Like, unless you're aspiring to a bad movie or you just don't really care or anything, people have put a lot more caring into their movies at this point, like well beyond what was done with Citizen Kane.
And I will say that one of the other ways that movies live on is in their influence and stuff. Something like Pulp Fiction, which I don't think should ever be remade personally, but it just like it was very influential, and there's you can kind of trace lineage to that film, and whatever happens with it in the future is fine, but you can kind of see influence of something like Rear Window, where just that concept of like that is used so much in television, especially television, like detective shows or murder mysteries. Like just about every show has an episode where one of the characters is like injured or something and looking out a window and sees something happen. I mean, that's that. This happened in like 9 or 10 different shows I've seen.
You watch Rear Window?
No, I've never seen it, but I know what it's about. I know I could, and the reason I know what it's about is because it's appeared in so many different classic television shows and things, even animated stuff like The Simpsons. But Jaws, it's like, hey, there's a shark, and then let's make Sharknado and open water, and I don't know that like that one. It's like, oh, we need the witty dialogue and the banter between those characters was something that needs to live on. But it's like sharks are cool.
The shark,
and they still are.
All right. Well, we're getting a little long on time, so let's kind of start to wrap a bit here.
All right. Well, look, I think it's important that we're having conversations about it, guys. We're starting the conversation right now together. And we did not come up with any good conclusions, and we did not solve a single thing. And I'm probably more confused now than when we started. I would love to hear from you guys out there. Maybe you let us know. You can just say, don't touch my movies. Don't you touch them. Or maybe you just say, reboot everything. Redo it all.
Remake them all.
Let's just do it.
Or hey, turn a new TV show.
Make them all TV. TV is the way to go, and I think that is the way to my heart. I will watch the 1925 classic, The Gold Rush, in television form.
Watch Citizen Kane, but only on television.
That's right. Give me Citizen Kane. Hey, you laugh, but a Citizen Kane TV show would get eyeballs. If Netflix announced tomorrow we have a Citizen Kane television show coming out, I'd be like, okay, Netflix. All right, let's see what this is about.
Wow.
Interesting.
That'd be pretty funny.
That would be.
All right.
Do you guys have anything else to add?
No, let's get out of here.
All right, Charlie.
When the Back to the Future TV show drops, just remember that you heard it here first. Spoiler free, but it's coming. Anyway, we love just having these conversations out loud. We love waxing about movies and television and all the possibilities for the future. Let us know in the comments. Maybe you're parents, maybe you have kids, maybe you've shown them RoboCop at a very young age. Let us know what they thought of that classic film, and whether or not Brody's a bad dad for showing his kids at 3.
I didn't show my kids. They haven't seen it yet.
Dylan's already showing his daughter Nightmare on Elm Street. You got to start him young.
She's already seen RoboCop.
She's watching horror movies at a 10th grade level, and she's a little newborn. All right. Well, anyway, we love you guys. We'll see you next time. Take care.
See you guys later.